Salesman says, "You can't afford the $850,000 Shelby Cobra," but then learns he's Ozzy Osbourne. Soft guitar hum fades in, a slow blues riff, echoing like an old memory. Narrator, low, deliberate tone. Picture this. Birmingham, March 2019. A cold morning sun rises over the slate rooftops of Britain's industrial heart, a city that forged metal, men, and music in equal measure. On the edge of Colmore Row stands Heritage Classic Cars Gallery, a shrine of mahogany walls and marble floors where the wealthy come to buy nostalgia. Crystal chandeliers glitter above rows of machines that once defined freedom. And beneath the largest spotlight sits the crown jewel, a 1965 Ford Shelby Cobra, painted a deep ocean blue, worth more than £850,000, sound of espresso machine hissing softly. Behind a polished counter, Marcus Wellington, 52, sips his morning coffee. Eton educated, perfectly pressed, he prides himself on recognizing class the way a jeweler recognizes diamonds. To Marcus, a man's shoes tell more truth than his words ever could. Beside him, his young assistant Jennifer arranges brochures. She's 28, polite, intelligent, a Birmingham University graduate who believes courtesy is the true sign of class. But she's learned to stay quiet. Marcus doesn't like to be challenged before his second espresso. Marcus, voice crisp, self-assured. Only true collectors can afford this Shelby, Jennifer. Members of the royal family, tycoons, that sort. Keep the riffraff entertained but away from the glass, yes? Jennifer softly. Yes, Mr. Wellington. Door chime rings as a gust of cold wind enters. At exactly 10:30 a.m., the gallery's heavy glass door swings open. A man steps inside, 70s perhaps. Worn jeans, a black t-shirt, a weathered leather jacket, hair brushing his shoulders. His boots are scuffed, his hands rough. He carries the smell of rain and petrol, not cologne. Marcus glances up. The tiniest twitch of disapproval flickers across his lips. Here comes another tire kicker, he mutters under his breath. Jennifer starts to greet the visitor, but Marcus intercepts. Marcus, I'll handle this. Jennifer. The man smiles, his Birmingham accent thick, familiar, and warm. Elderly man. Morning. I'd like to see the Shelby in the window. Subtle pause. Background music drops to a low bass note. Marcus forces a courteous smile, though his tone drips with distance. Marcus. Which Shelby, sir? Elderly man. The blue one. The 65 Cobra. Beautiful machine. He steps closer to the car. Light glints off the chrome bumper and dances in his eyes like a child seeing his first fireworks. He circles it slowly, reverently, whispering specs under his breath. Elderly man, quietly to himself. Ford 27 big block engine, 485 horsepower, side oiler, Weber carburetors. Ain't many left like her. Marcus tilts his head, surprised at the man's knowledge but unwilling to admit it. Marcus. Indeed, a special collector's piece. Only 348 made worldwide. The price reflects its rarity, £850,000 cash, plus insurance and maintenance. He pauses, waiting for the flinch, the polite retreat, but the man simply nods. Elderly man. That's a reasonable price. Soft instrumental swells, a hint of strings under the guitar. Marcus blinks. Reasonable? Jennifer looks up from her desk. Even she's startled. Marcus leaning forward. Sir, this vehicle is for serious collectors only. Driving her requires, shall we say, experience. His smile tightens. The message is clear. You're not the type. But the old man continues to circle the Shelby, his fingers hovering an inch above the polished surface, as if touching a relic from another life. Elderly man. I've had a good relationship with cars. Still do. From across the showroom, an elderly couple, Charles and Victoria Peaton, glance over their designer glasses, whispering. Victoria, hushed. Good heavens, Marcus will have to raise his standards. Look at that man's boots. Their laughter is thin, brittle. Marcus senses judgment from every corner of the gallery and feels pressure to act. He clears his throat. Marcus. Sir, before we go any further, I'll need to see identification and some proof of funds. We have procedures. The man's eyes twinkle with mischief. Elderly man. My financial status? That's an interesting question. Sound of leather wallet unfolding. From his worn jacket, he pulls a weather-beaten wallet and slides out a black metal American Express Centurion card. The room stills. Jennifer gasps quietly. Marcus's breath catches. Even the chandeliers seem to hum in disbelief. Marcus takes the card, feeling its cold weight. The engraving reads John M. Osbourne. He stares at the name. It tickles a memory he can't place. Marcus. Mr. Osbourne, forgive me, but I don't believe we've met. What line of work are you in? You must be quite successful. The man smiles. That half-mischievous, half-tired grin of someone who's seen too much. Elderly man. I was in music. Long time ago. These days Sharon keeps me busy at home. She says, Ozzy, don't you dare buy another toy. But well, old habits. Beat of silence. From the corner, a young man, Danny Peterson, 25, drops the brochure he's holding. Danny, excited, shocked. Oh my God. Are you Ozzy Osbourne? Every head turns. Jennifer's eyes widen. Marcus's jaw slackens. The old man chuckles softly. Ozzy, yes, son. That's me. The Prince of Darkness at your service. Soft laugh track from onlookers. Music shifts to a warm minor chord. Marcus stammers, his face flushing crimson. Marcus. Mr. Osbourne, I had no idea. I'm terribly sorry. I didn't recognize you, Ozzy. No worries, mate. I don't exactly travel with a spotlight anymore. He glances around the showroom. Ozzy, grinning. Sharon keeps telling me, Ozzy, dress properly for once, but I'm 70. Comfort's all I care for now. Laughter ripples through the crowd, melting the tension. Danny steps forward. Hands trembling, Danny. Mr. Osbourne, sir. I'm a music student at Birmingham University. Paranoid changed my life, Ozzy, placing a hand on his shoulder. Thank you, son. When we made that album in 1970, we just wanted to make some noise. Didn't think it'd last 50 years. He looks toward the Shelby, eyes shining. Ozzy, back then I couldn't afford a bike, let alone a car like this. Now I want to buy it for Sharon. Our anniversary, 42 years. She still puts up with me. Can you believe it? Soft guitar fades into a tender acoustic melody. Marcus, humbled, clears his throat. Marcus. Mr. Osbourne, please accept my apologies. Would you like to test drive the car? Ozzy. Sure, but I'd better call Sharon first. Learned that lesson the hard way, he dials. The gallery falls silent. Sharon's voice echoes through the phone. Sharp, loving, impatient Sharon over speaker. Ozzy, where on earth are you? I've been calling all morning. Ozzy, sheepishly. Doing a bit of shopping, love. Got a surprise for you. Sharon, what kind of surprise? Ozzy, you'll see when I get home. He hangs up, smiling like a boy caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Laughter erupts again. The gallery's walls seem to breathe. Jennifer approaches nervously. Jennifer. Mr. Osbourne, I apologize for not recognizing you. I actually wrote my thesis on your music, on how it helps people with post-traumatic stress disorder. Ozzy, softly, moved. Really? That's beautiful. You know, I've had letters from folks who said they found hope in my songs. Music's more than noise, love. It's medicine for the lonely. The room falls quiet again, but this time it's not out of judgment. It's reverence. Fade music into gentle piano theme. Ozzy walks back to the Cobra, running his fingers along its curve. Ozzy. When I was a kid, my dad worked at the Dunlop factory. Mum cleaned rich folks' houses. I'd stand outside places like this and dream about what was inside. Funny how life comes round. Marcus swallows hard, his arrogance crumbling. Marcus. Mr. Osbourne. Ozzy, you've taught me a lesson today. Ozzy, smiling. Good on you, mate. We all learn every day. Camera pans out. Soft fade to black. Narrator. Voice soft. Reflective. And so began a morning Birmingham would never forget. A simple encounter that would turn a showroom into a classroom and an old rocker into a teacher once more. Engine ignition hums softly beneath a low ambient drone. Faint blues guitar in the background. Narrator. Calm. Cinematic tone. The moment the Shelby's door clicked open, a sound echoed through the gallery like thunder in a cathedral. A sound every car lover knows. The hiss of old leather. the creak of craftsmanship that carries history in every stitch. Ozzy slid into the driver's seat as if stepping back in time. The man who once roared across the world on tour buses now rested his hands on a steering wheel that symbolized freedom itself. Marcus stood beside the car, still shaken from his earlier arrogance. The mask of superiority had fallen. In its place was a mix of awe and guilt. Marcus, quietly, "Mr. Osbourne, the car's yours for a test drive, sir. I'll accompany you if that's all right." Ozzy, grinning, "Of course, mate, hop in. Let's see if this old beast still remembers how to dance." Sound engine roars to life. Deep, throaty V8 rumble reverberates in stereo. The gallery vibrated. Chandeliers trembled. Every conversation stopped as the Cobra's 427 big block engine filled the air with pure mechanical symphony. Danny, off mic, shouting over the noise, "That sound!" "It's alive!" Ozzy laughed, the laugh of a man who'd survived chaos, love, fame, and madness, and still found joy in simple things. Fade to exterior sound. City ambiance. Light traffic wind hitting the mic narrator. Minutes later, the Shelby rolled onto the wet streets of Birmingham. Rain had stopped, but puddles mirrored the sky. Every streetlight shimmered across the car's blue surface like stage lights at a concert. Marcus, nervous, gripping seatbelt. "Please be careful, Mr. Osbourne. She's irreplaceable." Ozzy, smiling, eyes ahead. "So am I, mate." He pressed the clutch, shifted into second. The car lunged forward with youthful fury, the kind only legends possess. Sound, gears shifting, engine growling low. Narrator. They passed through the city center, and as the skyline receded, the streets began to look older, humbler, terraced houses, old factories, ghostly relics of Birmingham's industrial age. Ozzy, nostalgic. "See that over there, Marcus? That's Aston, my old neighborhood. I grew up in those streets. Dad worked at the Dunlop plant right near there. Mom used to clean for the wealthy, maybe even for one of your clients." Marcus looked out the window. The contrast between marble-floored galleries and soot-stained brick was jarring. Marcus, guilt-ridden. "I must admit, Mr. Osbourne, I judged you far too quickly." Ozzy, softly, with wisdom. Don't beat yourself up, lad. I used to judge people too. Thought anyone in a suit was an enemy. Turns out most people are just scared of being wrong." Background cue. Slow slide guitar melody. Reflective mood. Narrator. The Cobra slowed as they approached Aston Park. The trees, still bare from winter, lined the road like silent witnesses to history. Ozzy, pointing. "Over there, Marcus. That's where I got arrested for the first time. Stole some women's clothes from a shop. Wanted to be seen, I guess. The copper who caught me said, 'You'll never amount to anything.' Funny, huh?" Marcus chuckled uneasily. Marcus. "I doubt he'd say that today." Ozzy. "He might. Fame doesn't make you better, it just makes your mistakes louder." Pause. Faint sound of wind hitting the microphone. Narrator. They continued driving, the rhythmic growl of the engine underscoring Ozzy's memories. Each turn of the wheel seemed to steer him deeper into the past. Gigs in smoky pubs. The first time he met Tony Iommi. Nights of hunger, hope, and rebellion. Ozzy lost in thought. "When I was with Sabbath, we didn't have much. We just had riffs, pain, and dreams. Birmingham wasn't kind, but it gave us our sound. The sound of factories hammering steel, men coughing from the smog. That's where heavy metal was born, mate. Right here." Marcus, whispering. "You made history from hardship." Ozzy, shrugs. "Or maybe hardship made us. Either way, we sang for the ones nobody listened to." Sound fades into the low hum of the engine. Narrator. The car stopped at a red light. A group of teenagers on the pavement pointed and waved. One of them shouted, "It's Ozzy!" Ozzy rolled down the window, waved back, laughing like a kid. Ozzy. "Stay out of trouble, lads." Marcus. "You're still a hero to them." Ozzy. "Nah. I'm just proof you can mess up 1,000 times and still find your way home." Soft ambient guitar, nostalgic tone. Narrator. They drove in silence for a while. The only sound the steady purr of the V8 and the whisper of the tires slicing through shallow puddles. Finally, Marcus spoke, voice trembling slightly. Marcus. "May I ask, Mr. Osbourne, what keeps you grounded after, well, everything?" Ozzy smiled, eyes on the road. Ozzy, Sharon. Always Sharon. She's my compass. When I lose my mind, she points me back north. 42 years married. You don't stay that long unless love's got more muscle than fame. Pause. Narrator. Marcus nodded, thinking of his own failed marriage, the one he'd buried under work and pride. For the first time in years, he felt small, but in a good way. Marcus. I think I envy you, Mr. Osbourne. Ozzy, grinning. Don't. You'd have to get bitten by a bat first. They both laughed. The sound of that laughter, genuine, free, unexpected, seemed to chase away every prejudice that had hung in the gallery's air earlier. Music swell, slow build of guitar and soft percussion. Narrator. The Shelby turned back toward the city center. As they crossed over the canal bridge, the reflection of the car shimmered on the water like a moving piece of history. Marcus no longer saw a scruffy old man. He saw a survivor, a poet in leather, a man who carried a city's soul in his voice. Marcus, quietly, almost reverent. When you first walked in, I thought you didn't belong in a place like mine. Ozzy. And now? Marcus. Now I think this place didn't deserve you. Ozzy smiling. Don't say that. It's all part of the show, innit? Every gig needs a bit of drama. Engine downshifts. Sound of car slowing. Approaching destination. Narrator. When they pulled back into the Heritage Gallery courtyard, the same people who had judged him earlier now waited outside. Jennifer. Danny, even the Petons, eager, respectful, transformed. Ozzy parked the car, turned off the ignition. The engine's silence felt almost sacred. Ozzy. Beautiful ride. Steers better than most bands I've worked with. Jennifer approached, beaming. Jennifer. Mr. Osbourne, how was it? Ozzy. Like writing a song you've waited 50 years to play. Soft audience chuckle. Subtle applause fade. Marcus stepped forward. Voice heavy with sincerity. Marcus. Mr. Osbourne. I can't express how ashamed I am of how I treated you earlier. Ozzy. Don't worry, mate. Happens all the time. World judges the rapping before reading the letter. Marcus. I'll remember that. For the rest of my life. Ozzy clapped him on the shoulder. Ozzy. Then I'd say the car's already done its job. Music fades into warm strings. Narrator. Reflective. In that moment, the room that once smelled of arrogance and money filled instead with humility and grace. The man once branded the Prince of Darkness had brought light into a marble-walled showroom, not through fame, but through kindness. Pause. Faint sound of city traffic outside. Birds faintly chirping, narrator, lower, softer. And as Marcus stood there, watching Ozzy sign the purchase papers with a simple pen, he realized that life's greatest luxury wasn't the car, nor the money. It was the chance to be proven wrong by someone extraordinary. Music swells. Fades slowly. Narrator. Closing Act 2. When Ozzy stepped outside, the cold March air kissed his face. He looked up at the gray Birmingham sky and smiled. For the first time in a long time, he felt truly home. Room tone settles. Soft piano enters beneath a low, comforting hum. Distant rain begins tapping on the glass. Narrator. Measured. Intimate. Back inside Heritage Classic Cars Gallery, the air had changed. Where moments ago there had been quiet, scorn and polished pride, there now lingered a hush of expectation. The kind that fills a church right before the choir sings. Marcus stood a step behind Ozzy, no longer the ringmaster of an exquisite menagerie, but a student in a classroom he never knew he needed. Jennifer gathered a leather portfolio and a notepad, hands steady now, the sort of calm that follows a storm once you've learned it won't take your roof. Danny edged closer, the way a child might creep toward a campfire he's never seen but always imagined. The Shelby waited in the window like a blue cathedral, stained with light. Subtle chime from the door as the Petons re-enter, softer this time. Victoria Peton, careful, apologetic. Mr. Osbourne, I believe I owe you an apology. I judged a book by its cover. Ozzy, gentle. No harm done, love. The cover's always been a bit wild. Charles Peton, clearing throat. If it's any consolation, We've never seen Marcus humbled so quickly. Marcus without defense. Nor have I, Charles. Piano pauses. Slow blues guitar glides in, almost like a memory. Narrator. Ozzy wandered to a wall of framed photographs, past Le Mans Fords and Nürburgring Porsches, past snapshots of men in tuxedos shaking hands over glittering bonnets. He didn't touch the glass. He only looked as if each car were a face in a crowd he once sang to. Ozzy, softly for the room. People look at machines and see money. I look at machines and hear stories. Engines keep secrets, you know? They carry the echo of everywhere they've been. Jennifer, carefully. Stories are why your music matters, Mr. Osbourne. He turned, surprised and curious again, that boyish curiosity that fame could never blunt. Ozzy, you wrote your thesis on music and trauma, right? What did you learn? Jennifer, that rhythm can be a key when language fails. That a song, even a heavy one, can stabilize an anxious mind the way a heartbeat steadies a frightened child. Patients with flashbacks would sync their breathing to a steady tempo. Lyrics gave them a script for survival. Some said the distortion felt like a lightning rod and it drew the chaos out and grounded it somewhere safe. Ozzy, eyes brightening. Like thunder finding the earth. Jennifer, a small smile. Exactly. A gentle shift. Strings join the guitar, swelling like a door opening. Narrator. Ozzy leaned against a counter, the leather jacket creasing around his shoulders like the pages of a lived-in book. He took a breath. Not the breath you take before you sing, but the one you take before you speak the truth. Ozzy. I've had letters. Thousands. A miner who said war pigs helped him shout when nobody else listened. A woman who told me she chose life because Diary of a Madman made her feel seen in the dark. A soldier who wrote from a hospital bed that the only thing that cut through the night was a riff that sounded like home. Clumsy, loud, imperfect, alive. Brief pause. Let the words land. Ozzy, lower. Metal's not about noise, it's about nerve. It gives a backbone to people who were told to bend. The room held its breath. Even the rain outside seemed to listen. Danny, voice small, reverent. Did you know, when you wrote Paranoid, that it would be, well, paranoid? Ozzy laughed, the sound of a bell that's been rung 1,000 times and still finds a new echo. Ozzy, 20 minutes that song. We had a hole on the record, needed one more track. Tony found the riff, I found the words, we all found the storm together. We weren't chasing history, we were chasing a deadline. Marcus, half smiling. So greatness can be practical. Ozzy, greatness shows up when you stop asking it to impress you. You give it room, you say, all right, mate, if you're going to arrive, make yourself useful. It doesn't come to the perfect tuxedo party. It shows up sweaty at the back door when everyone's tired. Light laugh from the group. Tension sweetens into companionship. Narrator. Jennifer set a kettle on the gallery's small hospitality table. Earl Grey, the way Ozzy liked it. Steam rose in a ribbon. The scent cut through leather and chrome. Jennifer, pouring. Milk or lemon? Ozzy. Just the truth will do, love. She handed him the cup. He didn't drink yet. He let the heat sink into his fingers like a winter blessing. Marcus, carefully. If I may, Mr. Osbourne. What broke you and what saved you? The question hung dangerous and kind. Music recedes to a hushed drone. Rain louder now like pins on glass. Ozzy, after a long beat. Fame didn't break me. Silence did. The silences between shows. The silences in hotel rooms where the mirror was too honest. You think the world wants your roar, so you keep roaring, until your throat is blood and all you can hear is the quiet afterwards. What saved me? Sharon, my kids, and the letters, strangers who told me my song sounded like their heartbeat when they needed one. He looked down into the cup and finally took a sip. Then another. Ozzy, lighter now. And dogs. Lots of dogs. They teach you how to be a person without keeping score. Gentle ripple of laughter. Narrator. Marcus turned away for a second. blinking hard. You don't get to sell soul, he thought. You only get to witness it. Charles Peaton, voice altered by humility. Mr. Osbourne, this may sound odd, but I feel as though you've given us a sermon. Ozzy shrugs. Church never could hold me, but I've always respected a good choir. Victoria, tentative. And the bat? Ozzy, grinning theatrical. Real. Stupid. 1982. Me versus bat. Bat lost, I lost more. 7 rabies shots. Lesson learned. Don't take a dare from 1,000 people when your brain's on holiday. The laughter this time had relief in it. The relief of seeing the shadow and deciding to sit with it anyway. Piano returns warmer, a bass line of forgiveness in the chord. Narrator. Danny shuffled closer, courage trying on new shoes. Danny. Mr. Osbourne, sir. If you were me, 25, broke, breaking songs in the dark, what would you do? Tomorrow? Ozzy set the teacup down and considered the young man with an attention that made the room lean in. Ozzy. Don't write for the crowd. Write for the one person who needs the song like air. Maybe that person is you. Maybe it's a stranger you'll never meet. Either way, write the note that holds the ceiling up. Danny. And the industry? Ozzy. Waves it away. Storms blow through industries the way they blow through trees. Write the root, not the leaves, and call your mom. Danny laughs, eyes shining. Yes, sir. Narrator. Marcus moved behind the counter, not to hide, but to perform a task with ceremony. He drew out a velvet folder, embossed with the gallery's crest, and laid it open on the desk. Inside were the purchase documents, blank lines waiting for names. Marcus. Careful, respectful. Mr. Osbourne, if you're certain, it would be an honor to finalize the Shelby for you. Ozzy glanced toward the window, to the blue machine, in the spotlight, and then to the rain, which had softened to mist as if the sky had decided to listen instead of speak. Ozzy, smiling. I'm certain, but I'd like you to do something for me first. Marcus. Anything. Ozzy. Bring Jennifer over here, and Danny, and you. We're going to sign these papers together. A shocked silence, small, stunned, holy. Marcus, throat tight. Together, sir? Ozzy. Together, because none of us gets anywhere alone. You make the gallery breathe. Jennifer makes it kind. Danny reminds it to dream, and I'll pay the bill. Gentle rise of strings, a tender, almost luminous chord, narrator. They gathered. Marcus on the left, eyes wet. Jennifer on the right, chin lifted. Danny hovering like a comet that just found an orbit. Ozzy signed first, John M. Osbourne, the pen scratching like a stylus on an old record. Then he slid the pen to Marcus. Ozzy, quiet, firm. Sign the witness line. Not because you sell cars, because you chose to listen. Marcus's hand shook as he signed. He nodded once, grateful, chastened. Ozzy, to Jennifer. You signed too, love, for the thesis, and for every song you gave a second life to. Jennifer's breath caught. She signed, a single tear off her cheek, neatly ignored by everyone because kindness has its own privacy. Ozzy, to Danny. And you. Sign your name small. Leave room for the one you're growing. Danny tried to laugh and failed, which was better. He signed Danny Peterson in careful letters. Narrator. When the pen came back to Ozzy, the paper was no longer just an invoice. It was a document of repentance and courage, an artifact from the day a showroom chose to be human. Charles Peaton, softly to Victoria. I think I'll be buying my Porsche here after all. Victoria, smiling through a lesson well learned. I think we just did. Music shifts, a slight hopeful lift in tempo. Narrator. While Marcus made copies and called out to the back office for a bespoke delivery detail, Jennifer hovered by the hospitality table, fishing for words that didn't sound like worship. Jennifer. Mr. Osbourne, would it be too forward to ask for one more thing? Ozzy, teasing. If it's bat-related, I'm out. Jennifer, laughing. Would you write one sentence for my old supervisor? She said heavy metal can't heal, it only agitates. I'd like to send her something. Gentle. Ozzy tilted his head and reached for the notepad. He wrote slowly, a man shaping a small bridge out of letters. Healing isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's the loudest sound after a long silence. Ozzy, he tore the page out and folded it once, handing it over like a secret map. Jennifer, voice breaking. Thank you, narrator. From the doorway, a boy with a school bag peered in, hesitant. The gallery wasn't the sort of place school bags wandered into. He must have followed the rumor that rode the rain. Ozzy's here. Boy, whisper. Mr. Osbourne? Ozzy crouched to the boy's height as naturally as if he were tying his own shoe. Ozzy, hey there, mate. You all right? Boy, my dad. He plays your records on Sundays. Says the loud ones make the house feel strong. Ozzy winked. Ozzy, tell your dad he's got the right idea. Loud is just brave with the volume up. The boy grinned, then rushed back to the wet pavement. Story secured. Subtle swell. Choir pads mingle with strings. A forgiving harmony. Narrator. Marcus returned holding the completed folder. He placed it in Ozzy's hands with the ceremony of a knight offering back a sword he didn't deserve to hold. Marcus. Delivery will be handled by our vintage transport team. Enclosed trailer, full insurance, and no cut corners. We'll schedule at your convenience. And Mrs. Osbourne's. Ozzy, mock whisper. Especially Mrs. Osbourne's. They laughed again, a sound threaded with sunlight. Marcus, steadier now. Permission to say something. Unprofessional? Ozzy, go on, Marcus, and thank you for letting me be wrong today. For letting me learn in front of everyone. Ozzy. That's where the good learning happens. 8, in front of the band. Beat, then a tender hush. Narrator. The rain slowed to a mist that turned the windows into frosted glass. The city beyond blurred, as if Birmingham herself wanted to listen without being seen. Danny, quietly, to Ozzy. Would you name a chord I should write tonight? Ozzy pointed to the gallery door where the grubby world waited with its taxis and takeaway wrappers and unglamorous grace. Ozzy, start with the sound of that door. Hinge squeak, bell chime, rain hiss, street hum. Find the note that holds them all, then bend it until it sounds like tomorrow. Danny nodded like a man accepting a quest. Narrator. Before he left the counter, Ozzy took the Centurion card, slipped it into his battered wallet, and patted the leather twice, a ritual perhaps, to remind himself that no card could ever buy the morning he'd just had. He looked around one last time, at Marcus's humbled posture, at Jennifer's shining eyes, at Danny's fire, at the Petons' softened faces, at the Shelby glowing like a blue hymn. Ozzy to all of them. Be good to people who look like yesterday. You never know if they're carrying tomorrow. No one spoke. No one needed to. Music swells, luminous, then slowly settles into a single sustained note. Narrator. Soft, reflective. And in that marble room, where engines once outsang hearts, a different kind of horsepower took the lead. The torque of mercy. The traction of humility. The ignition spark of being seen. Ozzy turned toward the glass doors. They opened with the same chime that had announced him. The same sound that an hour earlier had marked him as a man out of place. Now it sounded like a curtain rising. Door chime. Rain hush. A city breathes. Narrator. Closing Act 3. Outside, Birmingham waited. Gray, familiar, faithful. Inside, the Shelby gleamed like the last note of a song you don't want to end. But every great song has another verse. Engine rumbles low. Windshield wipers swish. Faint harmonica joins the soundscape. Narrator, soft, reflective. Evening crept over Birmingham like a slow riff, turning the sky a bruised shade of blue. The rain had thinned to mist, curling off the Cobra's bonnet in silver threads as Ozzy turned the key once more. Marcus and the others watched from the doorway as the Shelby rolled into the street. Headlights flicked on, twin halos cutting through drizzle. The V8's growl lingered in the alley, a song that sounded halfway between thunder and prayer. Music cue, slow guitar arpeggio, melancholy but warm. Narrator. Ozzy didn't drive straight home. He took the long road, through Aston, Neshells, and Handsworth, the same streets that had raised him and nearly broken him. Every turn was a memory, every cracked pavement a lyric. He eased the Cobra down a narrow lane lined with brick terraces, windows glowing amber behind lace curtains. The smell of rain mixed with coal dust and chip oil, Birmingham's eternal perfume. Ozzy, to himself, murmuring, "Still smells the same. Bless it." He slowed near a corner shop. Shutters half down, sign faded. Riley's Groceries. In the 1960s, it had been Riley's record exchange. He'd stood right there, 16 years old, counting pennies to buy a used harmonica. Harmonica note joined softly, nostalgic. Narrator. Back then, Ozzy Osbourne was just John from Lodge Road, a dreamer with dirty boots and a voice no one believed in. He remembered his father's hands, cracked, blackened with factory soot, pressing a single shilling into his palm. "Buy something that lasts longer than a pint," his dad had said. That harmonica had lasted a lifetime. He parked the car for a moment and stepped out. The wet streetlight haloed him in mist. He reached out, touched the cool brick wall, and whispered something private. Maybe thanks, maybe apology. Rain softens. Faint church bells far away. Narrator. Further down, he passed Aston Park, where the boy once thrown out for loitering would one day be celebrated with a hometown statue. A group of kids kicked a football across the muddy grass, and one shouted, "Nice car, Granddad." Ozzy waved, laughing, Ozzy calling back, "Be kind, lads. The car's younger than me." The boys laughed, splashing through puddles. One yelled, "Who are you?" Ozzy grinned. Ozzy. Just someone who never learned to grow up. Engine revs gently. Transition to next location. Narrator. He turned toward Park Lane, where the old Prince of Wales pub used to stand. The same place where 4 lads from Birmingham met, argued, and accidentally invented heavy metal. It was gone now, replaced by a mini-market, but in his head the walls still trembled with the first scream of war pigs. Ozzy, quietly. "Tony, Geezer, Bill. Bloody hell, lads, we did it, didn't we?" For a few seconds he sat in silence, hands resting on the steering wheel like it was a microphone stand. Then his phone buzzed on the passenger seat. The screen lit up. "Sharon." He smiled and answered. Ozzy, cheerful. "Hello, love." Sharon, warm but sharp. "Ozzy, are you finally on your way home, or have you bought another guitar?" Ozzy, "Worse, darling, I bought a car. But not just any car." Sharon, half laughing. "What have you done now?" Ozzy, "It's a 1965 Shelby Cobra, blue as your eyes when you're cross at me." Sharon, playfully, "You're impossible. Where are you now?" Ozzy, "Driving through Aston. Thought I'd visit the ghosts before bringing her home." Soft piano underscoring. Narrator. On the other end of the line, Sharon went quiet. They both knew what Aston meant, the place where hunger, heartbreak, and music had once lived under one roof. Sharon, gentle. "Drive slow, love. You're carrying more than memories in that car." Ozzy, smiling. "I always do." He hung up but didn't turn on the radio. He let the rain compose its own melody against the windshield. Sound, rhythmic rain. Faint heartbeat percussion. Narrator. Every street corner seemed to offer a reflection of gigs and smoke-thick rooms, of headlines and heartbreak, of the long years when the world called him mad and he called it music. But tonight there was no noise, no screaming crowd, just the hum of an engine and the slow pulse of peace. He stopped outside an old red brick building with broken windows, once a metal workshop, now silent. A faded sign still read Crown Works Lantide. He smiled. Ozzy, soft laugh. This was the soundtrack, wasn't it? Hammers, drills, sweat, the first metal music. Metal clanging fades in rhythmically, blending into drums, symbolic sound design. Narrator. Inside his head, the sound morphed into a beat. Geezer's bass, Tony's riff, Bill's drums, the heart of a city reborn in distortion. For a fleeting second, he saw his younger self, black hair, thin as a nail, clutching a mic stand like a lifeline. That boy looked back at him through the reflection in the window, young Ozzy, in his memory. "Don't stop singing." Bait, older Ozzy, smiling. "Never did." Kid. The reflection faded with the next flash of lightning. Engine starts again. Sound, panning left to right. Narrator. As he drove past the bull ring, the modern city gleamed, glass towers, neon ads, the new Birmingham rising from its own ashes. But in every reflection he saw a piece of the old one, and somehow both belonged to him. He pulled over near a row of modest houses, one of them the same model where he'd grown up. A woman stood on the doorstep smoking, watching the car. Woman calling, "Nice motor." "You from around here?" Ozzy grinning, "Used to be. A long time ago, woman. Well, come back any time." "We don't bite." Ozzy laughing. "Noted. I've learned me lesson about biting," she frowned. Then laughed too, waving as he drove off. Ambient sound fades, replaced by soft string section narrator. By the time he reached the motorway, dusk had melted into night. The road ahead stretched endless, a black ribbon lit by street lamps, each one flickering like a stage light waiting for an encore. He thought about the people he'd met that day. Marcus with his pride, Jennifer with her empathy, Danny with his fire. And he thought about how life had a wicked sense of timing. How sometimes the richest man in the room is the one who remembers what it feels like to be poor. Ozzy, to himself, funny old world, eh? You spend half your life trying to be someone, and the rest remembering who you were. Soft choir hum joins the melody. Narrator. Somewhere between Aston and his home in Buckinghamshire, the rain stopped. The clouds opened just enough for a few stars to pierce through. He rolled the window down, felt the cold air bite his cheeks, and for a moment it was 1970 again. The world still loud, young, and dangerous. Ozzy, murmuring, "Still here, lads." Still driving, he gripped the wheel, eyes glistening under the passing streetlights. Sound. Heartbeat mixed subtly with the rhythm of the road. Narrator, soft. They say every man has two homes, the one he builds and the one that built him. That night Ozzy Osbourne drove between both, leaving the gallery that had doubted him, returning to the life that had defined him. The Cobra's engine roared, not in arrogance but in gratitude, because even legends need to remember where their story began. Engine fades slowly into distance. Then silence. Narrator, closing Act 4, tone reflective. When he finally reached home, Sharon stood waiting by the door, arms crossed, smile breaking through her scolding. Inside, the kettle whistled, and outside, a blue Shelby Cobra cooled in the driveway, its metal heart still warm, carrying within it the soul of a city, a lesson in humility, and the laughter of a man who'd once been judged but never broken. Morning ambience, birds outside, distant traffic hum, soft acoustic guitar picking, narrator, warm, steady. Dawn poured gently over Birmingham, rinsing the night from its rooftops. The Heritage Classic Cars Gallery, still smelling faintly of engine oil and pride, woke to a different kind of light, the kind that follows revelation. Jennifer unlocked the glass doors, her reflection mingling with the Shelby's blue curve still parked in the center. Marcus arrived moments later, hair unkempt, tie forgotten. Neither spoke at first, sound of kettle clicking on, mugs clinking. Jennifer quietly, "Feels different in here, doesn't it?" Marcus, "Yes, like the place finally exhaled." They both smiled. The small, tired smiles of people who had stayed up too late thinking about the truth. Soft newspaper rustle. On the reception counter lay the Birmingham Gazette. Headline bold across the fold, "Prince of Darkness buys back the light." A photo captured Ozzy laughing beside the Shelby, leather jacket dripping with rain, joy written where judgment once lived. Marcus reading aloud. Local rock legend Ozzy Osbourne makes surprise visit to Heritage Classic Cars Gallery. Staff described the encounter as a lesson in humility. He set the paper down, staring at the picture as though seeing the man again. Marcus, softly, "I spent my whole career learning how to sell perfection. He taught me how to notice grace." Piano cue enters, minimal and tender narrator. Outside, the first customers arrived, not billionaires in tailored coats, but mechanics, bus drivers, a group of college kids clutching coffee cups. Word had spread online overnight. Ozzy had visited. Ozzy had forgiven. They didn't come to buy. They came to feel what had happened there. Jennifer opened the doors and welcomed them in. The showroom became a small museum of kindness. Visitor 1, awestruck whisper, "Right here?" "He stood right here?" Visitor 2, "Look, there's the cup he used." Marcus, grinning. Careful, it's priceless now. Laughter rippled, gentle. Human, real transition. Soft camera shutter sounds. Murmurs fade into music, narrator. Across town, in a university music lab, Danny Peterson replayed the conversation from memory. He'd stayed up all night writing, 12 pages of lyrics that sounded like streetlights and factory echoes. The title scrawled across the top, Shelby Blues. It wasn't perfect, but it was alive. He uploaded a clip to the university network with a single caption, "For the man who taught me that noise can heal." By noon, the post had gone viral across Birmingham. Old fans shared memories. Young ones discovered a legend not from scandal, but from sincerity. Montage cue, upbeat but emotional guitar riff builds. Narrator. Meanwhile, at Ozzy's home in Buckinghamshire, Sharon watched him through the kitchen window. He sat in the garden with their dogs, a mug of tea balanced on his knee, newspaper spread on the table. Sharon, calling from doorway. "Well, Mr. Osbourne, it seems you've made the news again, and for once, no police involved." Ozzy, laughing. "Miracles happen, love." He held up the paper, squinting at the headline. Ozzy, "Prince of Darkness buys back the light." Bit dramatic, innit? Sharon, "They're journalists, darling. Drama's cheaper than ink." They laughed together, the easy, seasoned laughter of two people who had outlived storms. Soft domestic sounds, tea pouring, dog shaking collar. Narrator. For a man who'd screamed to crowds of 50,000, the quiet morning applause of birds and boiling water was the sweetest encore. He looked at the photo again, himself beside that car, surrounded by faces now softened by understanding. Ozzy to himself, gently. "Funny how you spend years proving you're not the devil. Then one morning a car salesman does it for you." He folded the paper neatly like a letter he might one day answer. Piano line swells, becoming hopeful. Narrator. Back in Birmingham, the ripple widened. Marcus received an email from a customer in London, an old rival collector who'd read the article. "If that's the way you treat people now, I'll be bringing my Jaguar restoration to you. We could all use a bit of what that rocker gave you." Marcus smiled through a sting of tears. He printed the email and pinned it to the office corkboard above a new sign Jennifer had made. "No judgments. Just journeys." Fade to crowd ambience. Gallery busier, warmer. Narrator. Even Charles and Victoria Peaton returned, this time without hauteur. They brought their grandson, a shy boy of 12 clutching a miniature guitar. Charles, to Marcus. "He insists on seeing the place where Ozzy Osbourne taught his grandfather some manners." Marcus. "Then he's very welcome." The boy wandered to the Shelby and stared. Eyes wide, "Boy, did he really drive this?" Jennifer. "He did. And he told us something before he left. That kindness runs better than petrol if you keep it topped up." The boy nodded solemnly, committing it to memory. Music bridges into reflective strings. Narrator. By evening, the story had traveled beyond Birmingham. Music blogs, car magazines, even talk shows carried the headline. But none of them quite captured the hush in that showroom, or the way one simple smile had disarmed an entire hierarchy. For the people who'd been there, it wasn't news. It was witness. At his studio, Danny tuned his guitar. Jennifer watched his clip on her phone and whispered, "He's going to make it." Marcus closed the gallery early, turned off the chandeliers, and left only one light burning, the one above the Shelby. It glowed in the dark like a saint's halo made of chrome. Sound cue, faint echo of engine from previous act returns, blending with audience cheers fading into wind. Narrator, softly. Some stories don't end. They keep idling, waiting for the next ignition. And somewhere on a quiet country road, Ozzy took the Cobra out again that night. The stars were out, the air cold and clear. He rolled down the window, the wind whipping his hair like it used to on stage. He wasn't chasing fame or speed or forgiveness, just the road ahead. Honest and open, Ozzy whispering to himself. Still driving. Dad. The city lights faded behind him, replaced by darkness, when the kind that no longer frightened him, because he'd filled it with music. Music builds, slow blues solo swelling into cathartic crescendo. Narrator, voiceover music. They called him the Prince of Darkness. But in truth, he'd always been a craftsman of light. forging it out of noise, mistakes, and mercy. That day in Birmingham, he didn't just buy a car. He reminded a city, and maybe the world, that greatness wears no uniform, and that humility, when it rumbles through marble halls, sounds a lot like thunder. Pause. Guitar fades to single note. Echoing narrator, closing tone, deep resonant. And so, the man who once screamed into the void left us with a whisper. Be kind to people who look like yesterday. They might be carrying tomorrow. The Shelby's engine answered with one last roar, rolling down the midnight road like a heartbeat too wild to die. Music holds, then slowly resolves into quiet narrator, gentle, concluding, if this story touched your heart, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Voices of Darkness, where real stories find light in the shadows. Because sometimes legends don't just play music. They teach us how to listen. Theme outro, soft electric guitar fade out.